This is Every Widow Thing.
Hey guys, welcome back. I am so excited about our guest today. I'd like to introduce and welcome him, my friend and fitness instructor, David Garza.
Hello.
Yay.
Yay. David, or if you live in Austin, you probably know him as DG. He's the father of two amazing kids. He's been sober for over 7 years, a DJ, and crazy, a 19-time Ironman finisher.
That's crazy.
Wow, that is crazy.
You're insane.
Very much so insane. I would not suggest that
Don't
to
make
anybody.
us do that.
Yeah.
He's been in fitness for 20 years, teaching rhythm-based cycling, boxing, and personal training in and around Austin. He's always understood the power of music through movement for mental health. But when he recently lost the love of his life, he got up close and personal with grief and how exercise can help the healing process. He's here to share his personal story of loss and teach others, quite literally, how to move through their grief. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Welcome,
me.
David.
Yeah. So let's get started.
Okay.
All right.
Fire away. Fire away.
I want you to tell us about your relationship with Jen.
So my relationship with Jen started years ago. She was a client of mine. She would come to one of the places I was teaching at back in the day, and she came in, and of course she was riding, and of course I noticed her with her ponytail popping around. Nobody like if you know Jen, you know that ponytail is popping around. And so then I was like, hey, really, really good. Come right up front. That kind of started our friendship. It was an amazing friendship. It was like, we would just send memes to each other nonstop and, just check on each other. And it was a great friendship, which turned into a really great relationship. And it flowed right into a deep love for one another. We became steady and just kind of lived life.
You went
through
steady.
That. Yeah, we went steady.
We love that.
I asked her, I was like, hey.
Old school. Will you wear
be
my
steady?
pen?
We go steady with
We wear my sweatshirt, yes. And so then after that, it was fun. And of course, like any relationship, we had ups and downs throughout the entire time. And about a year ago, we broke up. After that breakup, we were still close. You can't just turn off that friendship just instantaneously. So it was a challenge to kind of move that back into a friendship. And she really wanted to stay connected as close as she could. And it was nice. And so we we talked nonstop after that anyway. I still remember talking to her just, a couple of days before her accident. So we were very much in communication like the entire time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, never really, the relationship didn't end. The caring for each other didn't end. It just the friendship. It was better for you guys with whatever journey you both were on.
Yeah, and it was. And once that happened, and, there were some challenges to kind of go through those rough waters, but then it kind of started settling down. She was on another relationship, and I kind of turned into more of like her counselor of, like she had questions about this and that. And, she would call me and ask me about it. And it was good. It was good to kind of help her out on this new stage of her life as well.
Yeah. And so take us to the moments when you found out that there was a problem, that something had happened to Jen.
I taught, and I remember that Saturday I actually took the class right afterwards so I can get another workout in. And I get back to my phone, and Shelly had called, and she left a voice message. She was like, hey, can you call me? And I was like, yeah. So I called her, and she said there was an accident and that she was headed to the hospital, and she had gone into a coma on the way to the hospital. And I was just floored. I was just stunned. Nobody really knew how close me and Jen still were. And so I didn't get a lot of other information than that.
And you didn't really know how serious.
No.
It was for Jen.
I was just told it was serious, but that's coming through the grapevine. So I didn't know.
Right.
And it was serious, never really resonates as they are going to die.
Yes.
Like even when it's, sometimes.
Coma.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not where your brain goes to.
No, in my mind, and I'm still struggling with that I wanted her to wake up. Like I knew she would wake up, and so she could tell me the whole story. Like that's what I was waiting for.
When was the last time you had spoken with her before that?
2 days before. During our relationship with it was so challenging with everything around us. And I think ultimately that's what happened. There was a lot of outside circumstances that really influenced the internal relationship,
Yeah.
which hindsight, it shouldn't have, but it did.
You were together such a long time in terms of friendship and dating. And like you said, though, you'd broken up. So a lot of people consider that like you just cut it off.
Yeah. And that's where it got really complicated because I didn't know where it stood.
But, right.
This is where a lot of the outside circumstances were influencing our relationship quite a bit. So,
Family and friends who had picked a side. Is that kind
I
of?
would say, yeah. And once again, now this will be my side of the story
Right.
where it's like, yeah, I felt the role of scapegoat. I can't control the narrative on somebody else's side.
That's
Right.
right.
I know what happened. I know what was going on. And I do believe there was a lot of other influencing factors on that. And so the only way that I knew how to manage that was just to kind of step back. I said our relationship was so complicated that we had so many dynamics that I really wanted to like build up.
Jen is in a coma. You're not getting a lot of information. It's Christmas, so you're trying to be present for your own children and family. What were those days like? Was it a week that she
2 weeks.
was in a coma for 2 weeks? Oh, that's excruciating.
To visit and all of that.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to visit. It was either 2 or 3 times.
Oh, that's
Kinda-
great. So what
Yes.
were those 2 weeks like for you? What did it look like for you?
It was horrible. It was like living in the pandemic. There was just so much uncertainty.
Mhm.
And I kept hoping that there would be a good outcome of this. And everything that they were saying, and with the small information I got, it wasn't looking good. But I got to see her, and
How did that get facilitated?
I had a dear friend. I had an angel of mine who has been an angel in my life for quite a bit. And she's helped me out for a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of pushed one of Jen's friends, like David needs to be there. She needs to hear David's voice, is what was told basically.
Mhm.
And so I think that kind of lowered the walls to allow me to come in. And what was stated over and over again about me being there is how complicated it was for me to be there, which was an understanding because at that time, me and Jen were kind of quiet friends.
Mm-hmm.
Jen was in a relationship with another guy.
Oh, right.
And then we had her ex and then the kids
Right.
and then the family who didn't really,
Complicated.
That's a lot of
didn't really,
moving parts.
Yeah. So your first meeting with Jen, you get to go into the hospital room alone, be alone with her?
No, there was no way of that.
Yeah.
Looking back, I don't know why, but there would be somebody in the room and they would put on headphones so they wouldn't hear what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, look, I'm going to take whatever I can get and just try to talk to her about getting better and just do whatever I can to bring her back.
Did you ever have a feeling? Because I think we've all talked about this. And like in my situation, I knew he was not going to make it. Did you ever have that moment where you're like, it's over. They're not going to make it.
That moment finally came when I saw her being put in the hearse at the funeral.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So
So you
I
held
had a
out
lot of
hope
hope.
the entire time. Yeah.
So you were able to
You
go
did.
back several times to spend some time with her.
a couple of times, and it was a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
So,
This
but
is complicated
yeah.
grief because we all had relationships.
Yeah.
Our families were fine and our relationships with our husbands were fine.
Yeah.
This is super complicated,
y'all,
which
and
adds a
this-
whole
as
other
I was
level of
listening to
grief.
it, y'all had closure.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
did.
hard because it's like you
Cut
lost
out.
her, but you just like lost that whole part of your life.
Yeah.
Almost like
it's
it
done.
didn't happen.
Very
Yeah.
much so. Very
Yeah.
much, as I've heard before, swept underneath the carpet.
Mm-hmm. But it is difficult. It sounds like, I mean, you didn't get to say, I mean, you did get to say goodbye, but there were limitations around it.
This is hard. Like, I never gone through this. I don't know what to do. I am scared out of my mind. I'm lost. And now I still have to show up for everybody and be that person. I have to be the hype
motivator.
You've
instructor.
been that person
Cheerleader.
for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the three of us, not the redheaded one, bonded over spin like in 7 years ago. And we were like spin addicts and we would
And I
cry on the
originally spun
bike.
with him
Yeah.
before my accident and after my accident.
I remember.
I got back on the bike with you and
I remember that.
Maria.
It was huge.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
After
So-
they told me I
Really
wasn't going to walk again.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because some of the instructors I've had along the way, including you, like didn't realize how much you're helping me. You didn't even know I was a widow and in the beginning. But I'm just there and I'm like, feel so good when I leave. And so you're inspiring so many people and you don't even know, like,
And I think you
the
talking
background.
today does too, particularly kind of like Don Cash said that day when a male will step up and say they can talk about their grief, they can talk about their feelings and express that. It opens the door for other men to do the same thing, even though it's not easy for us either. This is very hard
Yeah.
to speak publicly about, personal things, but if you're helping people, it kind of gives you some sort of way of at least giving back to something that was so painful.
Absolutely. And guys don't talk about that. We don't have groups that sit down and just open up because we don't want to be seen as weak or vulnerable or not brave or whatever it is. But I do think that's slowly kind of dwindling down as well. There is a good movement to being able to talk about it and just to be a certain way. And that's okay too. So I think there is a good movement towards that, which is why I try to just be as vulnerable as I can, and not only on social media, but to my kids as well. I mean, like I've been in my bed just crying my eyes out and they're like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just need this right now." And they're like, "Okay." And they'll come back
Yeah.
and they'll check on me and, which is great. And I feel that going through this grief, my kids have really, I'm not going through it. We are.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times I didn't realize how much it affected my kids and how I should be talking to them and what we should be doing now to help us with the future. And so there's been a great gift of grief, but there's also a lot of pain associated with it. And the balance of that's been the challenge. So
I'd be curious because, I mean, you've done 19 Ironmans. You know pain. You know physical pain. You know mental anguish. How has that helped you with your grief journey, or has it? Or I would think, doesn't matter what I think. You tell me what you think.
I think it's great. I love
Iron Man
yeah,
over here.
Yeah. I
Zero.
love challenging myself. I love
She came to
doing that.
one
Yeah.
class. Good
Yeah,
enough.
I got it. I
She's
got
all
it.
Don't even come back to boxing.
I know she hasn't come back. I'm just saying.
I'm still recovering. you guys.
That was a few months ago.
Still recovering.
I have a very interesting way of training. So I love pain. I love pain. Pain lets me know I'm alive. I've tried to always do what's next. That was kind of always my motto when I was doing my first Ironman. I started off doing a smaller race, like a 5K, and then worked my way up. So I was like, what's next? What else can I do? What else can I do? And then I got up to an Ironman race and I did that. And it was very scary. There was that point in time, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like survive this. And I still have a lot of challenges throughout each race. And I just completed the 19th one in April. And that challenge was training through grief. And I appreciated grief at that point in time because it helped push me to go and do something. And that's where I felt a lot of pain, where I could really channel my anger, my frustration. I mean, just the fact that I was just fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And I could put that towards my energy. I could run. I could push myself on the bike when I felt like I was hurting or I needed to do another 2 hours on the bike,
Ugh, I've
you know,
been there.
yeah.
So hard.
Yeah. And I would tap into those feelings.
She's like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. She was
I
right.
understand.
She sent me that text
Hour
and she was like,
two,
how was your
just tap
5-hour
it-
bike
tap
ride?
in
Yeah.
there.
The one that doesn't hardly
Yeah.
ever exercise.
No, but
And so
I
it was a gift for me then.
yes, I love
Because
that you
that's
say
how
gift of grief.
I
Yeah.
was able to work through that. That's how I was able to lose myself in my workouts,
Mhm.
but also then find myself. The things that helped get me going on was the fact that Jen loved to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And she would, oh my God, she would find every single way to work out. And she would even push me to work out. And so I knew that she would want to do it again. And
It's okay.
it was, she was a
It always
driver.
happens.
And, she was out there with me in those runs. And she always ran on my right side. So I'd always leave a little space for her to run with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel her out there? Were there ever, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but this light keeps flickering.
I know.
And I'm like, hey, Jen, do you feel that when you're working out that she's with you, or do you get any signs?
Yes. The first week or so, it was crazy in my classes. Even the fuller ones, the bike in front of me was never full.
Oh,
There was nobody on it. And so we have this, whenever somebody's late to class, you lay the towel over and it's in recognition that, they're going to be
coming.
there.
Yeah.
And so I'd always go over and I'd lay that towel open.
Oh man, I just got chills.
Yeah. I think it's my God-given talent to be fitness instructor, to be in front of people, to help them work through whatever situations. And I keep thinking that I am lucky to go through this so that I can feel this experience and help others through it as well.
Mm-hmm.
With everything in my life that I've gone through already, with, sobriety, with rehab, with divorce, with kids, and now grief.
How has your grief changed from the beginning till now? And it hasn't even been, how long has it been?
5 months and a few days.
So it's still very new and might even still be in the shock stage of things. But how have you been working through it? What do you do that you could share with other people that are dealing with grief, and how has it changed?
I've allowed to be open about it and all my feelings about grief.
Mm-hmm.
At first I was very silent, which made it kind of challenging because my job is, kind of being on social media a lot. I didn't have anything to say and I didn't know what to feel. And so I was at a loss for words.
Which never happens in class.
Yeah. Right. So, I was trying to find out how to go through this. I was still in shock. I was still angry. I'm still angry. And I was able to get through my sharing of it. I was able to get some really good golden nuggets of what people have gone through
Mm-hmm.
and that they've shared with me. And so my very first nugget was how grief is like an ocean, and it will come in waves, and it'll be super high and super low, and it's never ending, which is back to the Ironmans. Those had goals. They had finish lines.
Right.
So I knew the pain would stop when I
Mhm.
crossed that line. Hopefully. I don't know when this is going to stop. I don't think it's ever going to stop hurting. You need to keep living because you want them to be happy for you up in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And they shouldn't be worried about you. They want you to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be happy. The reason why you're going through grief so deeply is because the love was so deep.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that one, I was like, yeah, I can feel that. And right now, I hear it. It's good. Awesome. I appreciate it. Not sure I'm feeling a lot of that,
Yeah.
but I hear it.
Yeah.
You're so newly in it.
Yeah,
and-
it's so early still. I mean,
But the pain there are moments when it's just as painful 5 years in as it is for you 5 months, but
Yeah.
it doesn't hit you as hard every single day. It does get easier. It becomes more of maybe like, I don't know, because I don't really hurt myself by training or anything, but maybe an old injury, and then it just kind of gets it's reminding you every once in a while, oh, you did this to me, don't forget this is painful or this hurts or whatever. But I would say, well, you have your whole phrase.
Oh, less deep, less dark, less often.
Yeah.
That came up because I'm 12 and a half years, almost 13 in. All these years later,
Son.
those relationships don't change. You're still living with it, but it is less deep. It does get less dark. Like the darkness doesn't go so where you feel like, I don't think I'm going to come out of this. You know you will, and you know it's going to be okay. And then less often, it just kind of like the ocean, like you said, which is a lot of our happy places. I love it. It just a little bit like this. And then in the beginning, it just would take me underneath. Thought, oh my God, I'm never going to see the light again. And then you do. And so if in those 6 months where you are now, if you can then, you will a year, 2, 3, 4. Because the Ironman stuff, I've obviously never done one, but I was an athlete in college. And so I do know that you live with some pain with that after the fact too, a little bit. So it can be
I was trying to say.
like Ironman. There's no way I would have ever been able to do that. So I can't imagine. There's bound to be some hip, legs, knees, whatever. And I kind of think that's kind of like grief, don't you think, when you're
That's good enough.
doing sports? So
Yeah.
we know you're going to be better one day.
You will. And I love what you said. I read something recently and I wrote it down, but of course I can't remember the exact wording, but it's what you were saying. We suffer so that we can have empathy for other people that are suffering, so we can offer guidance and support for those people. So there's meaning in it. It fucking sucks. And I would be dumb for the rest of my life. Like, I don't care. Just bring him, let me have him. But, you're already 5 months in recognizing that there's meaning that you can take from it. And that is,
I didn't have that at 5
gift.
months. I
Positivity.
was like still fucking pissed.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I had any of those either that early on either.
I felt there was one situation when I was in rehab and I was having a very hard day. Like I knew like all the relationships I were going to have were just failing. My buddy who was there, his girlfriend worked at a cupcake place, and Sundays the family would come in. And so she came in and brought cupcakes. And it was that day I was really down because I didn't have anybody visit me. And he was like, man, Dave, he's like, I can see you're going down. And he's like, why don't you come and help me just like pass out these cupcakes? He had like 4 dozen cupcakes, man. It's like contraband in rehab. Come on now.
Sugar.
And so I was like, you know what? Let's do that. And it immediately just like when I started to serve, it took away a lot of the things that I was feeling. And I remember that vividly because that's how my life has kind of been throughout all my struggles. Like I haven't had an easy life, and it's been a struggle, and it's still a struggle. Like I felt that my classes were actually one of my therapies, is that I could show up for other people, whether it's just get away from their life or, help them get their goal, or just beat the shit out of the bag, or, ride the bike, or whatever it is. That's been one of my saving graces, knowing that that's what Jen would want me to do. And so it's really helping me in my therapy to get through all the craziness that this grief has brought.
I was going to ask about your sober journey in terms of the grief, and if that created any struggles for you around, wanting to drink again or whatever it may be. It was how did you get through all of that with the loss of Jen?
Yeah, it was very upfront. Yeah, I could have easily just gone and gotten a drink and drank myself numb. But I think the way my rehab journey, my sobriety journey has gone is that I know that doesn't serve me anything anymore. I know it doesn't serve me any good to step away from these feelings. what my sobriety has taught me is that these feelings happen for a reason, and I should dive into those feelings and not just leave them. That was one of the reasons why the alcohol got me in trouble last time, is I was trying to escape the situation that I was at instead of addressing the situation and doing what I needed to do.
Right.
I knew for me the right way was to get out and exercise, to get out and do something and move my body. But yeah, I thought about it. Oh my gosh. I mean, you go into the fancy H-E-B now and there's like walls of liquor all over the place. I'm like, I could do that. I could. But
And a lot of people escape that way. I know
I
indulged a little bit too
Yeah,
much
absolutely.
after losing my
We all have.
husband.
Yeah,
And had to
because
kind
it's
of
easy. It's
pull
an
myself
easy
out of that because of my kids and say, come on, you're a mom. You got to get up, get everybody to school. I stopped even buying wine because Frank and I would share a bottle. And then if you open up the bottle of wine and there's only one person there, then you're the only person drinking the wine.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just stopped opening it. That was a tactic of mine. But yeah, I mean, you do want to escape. You want to escape the pain. So
I do a lot. And I think that's the funny thing is my escape, I think, is by adding more pain to try to hide the pain.
Yeah.
If that
It
makes
is
sense.
interesting. I think I was just thinking that your addiction is about avoidance. Like that's what addiction, you're trying to numb something or avoid something. And yet your career is all about facing pain head on and pushing yourself harder. And so it's
and
just-
others.
Yeah, and others.
You're going to feel pain too.
Listen, I'm
you.
still feeling pain.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting,
Forcing your pain on everyone else.
duality.
And it works for me. And it gives me, like when I'm done with a workout and I'm just exhausted because it's 1 billion degrees outside in my garage, I'm laying on the ground. I can't really do anything else but try to survive and get water. And I feel good about myself because I felt like I've done something to help me along my goal of racing or
And you
my
pushed
journey.
yourself and you've survived something.
Yeah.
So talk to our audience about exercise and why it can be so valuable when you're going through a loss or grieving something, especially when in those moments, many times we don't feel like getting up and doing anything.
Yeah.
The tips and also just what is the value in it for people that might not see any value in it right now?
I see value in a mind and body connection. Otherwise, if you stay on that bed, your mind will race and it will take over and you're going to throw out the what ifs and I should have's and I can't anymore. And what am I going to do? And sit there and you're going to waste time, which your partner doesn't have anymore. And if you put value on the time that they don't have anymore, that's going to weigh a little bit more for you because you're sitting there in grief, wishing all they would.
Yeah.
That was really a great statement
Yeah.
that he just
Yeah.
said. I'm going to take that. That's very true. We can't waste it because they don't
have it. Wow.
Well, and like you
Very
said,
powerful.
sitting on the bed, there's energy that's happening. So you can let your mind take all that energy and it just becomes a tornado in there of untruths and fear. Or you can move your body and the energy starts to come out physically, which is more positive.
And you can create that. That's where kind of like, the chemistry comes in where you have this, that's why it's potential energy because you have a lot of potential energy inside you, but you have to make that first step because of them. They would want that. They want you to be happy. They want you to use this time that we have on this earth for whatever it is. And they don't want you to be sad. They didn't have time with you for you to be sad. They loved you, right? And when you love something, you want it to grow, you want it to flourish and be everything it can be. And it's still tough. I'm not going to lie. It's still hard to go and do those things. But when I get into it, I get through that first little, I just lace my shoe up and I just get out the door. Get out the door. Whether I run fast or not, I've already done that. One of my closures that I've got, kind of closure, is that we had always, Jen had gone through a knee surgery. And so she was told she wasn't going to run again, which was like death to her. It truly was. And we'd always talked about her doing one more marathon with me. She wanted to do one. And I knew there was a half marathon and a marathon that we've raced before and she loves. And so I was going to do that in her honor. And the half marathon that I did was supernatural. I've never felt so good that I could run. And even my buddy who was running with, Kathy, she was like there was something up with that race. And I was like, yeah, there sure was. And it was really awesome. It was really awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So then the Austin Marathon, I got to run the marathon for her as well. And I think that nobody will really understand how our relationship was. And I love it. And that's mine. And that's mine and hers. I have an amazing photo album of her and her memories. And her amazing videos of her trying to dance. It's hilarious. And I go through that quite a bit, which kind of keeps her memory. I'm also kind of scared. I don't want to lose those. It's good to kind of keep that. Yeah, she was in our life. She's not now physically, but she always was. She's kind of hold us.
Keep saying their name, keep sharing the stories, keep having the memories.
That's so healthy. And it was really hard for me in the beginning. Like every time I would start to bring Toby up, I would just start to cry. And over time, I got over that. And now my boys are older. And so I talk about him all the time now. But I wish, in hindsight, going back, I would have known it's okay to talk about him. Like, I don't know why I was scared in the early days.
I didn't get a lot.
Tell them about the shirt.
Yeah, the shirt. Yeah. I was really sad one day when I went to go to class and somebody had lost a water bottle. And so I pulled the lost and found open and I'm going through it. And sure as shit, Jen's pink shirt, like her pink shirt that is in like a majority of her pictures, like was right there. And I
in the lost and found.
In the lost and found, I like stopped immedately and I was like, there's no way.
That's awesome.
And sure enough, I pull it up and her Spence's shirt was right there. So
I love when those things happen.
Awesome.
And you just took it, I hope.
Oh yeah. No, I took it. Yeah. Lost and found. This one found it. I found it.
Yeah. I love when they show up in those ways. And I'm so glad that you're seeing it. Like a lot of times signs are being sent, but people are so deep in their grief that they aren't paying attention or looking around or noticing,
Yeah.
So probably your exercising has helped. You can kind of swim over to a shallow end for a minute.
Well, it's certainly a healthier way to deal with grief. There's a lot of things that we probably all did that weren't so healthy.
Booty calls.
But
Yeah.
Pirate booty was my thing.
Yeah. Which leads me to my surprise, right? I was talking earlier. I couldn't believe it. Every night, or for a while, every night I was praying that Jen would come to my dreams.
Okay.
And she had come a couple of times while she was in the coma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. I saw her one time and I was like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? How are you? What are you doing right now? She just laughed. She's like, I'm just doing God's work upstairs. I'm like, okay, thanks, Jen. And some of my friends would text me and call me and they were like, talk to Jen in dreams. And I was just like, we're getting angry. I was like, why the fuck she not
right?
Me?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, hello.
You had that too,
right?
Yeah.
Right. And so, sure shit, she showed up last night and it was a long dream and it was amazing. She, we sat down and she looked me in my eye and she was like, David, I just want you to be happy. And
so nice.
That was a gift.
And that was a
gift.
it was
when they visit you, because
She talked about us though.
she did. She said, don't listen to him.
She was like, don't go to that podcast.
Oh my God, I know that woman way too well. No, she was just standing right in that doorwell. and in her pink fucking skirt,
Mhm.
and the shirt, and her hair in that high ponytail
likes
that she always wears. Yeah, and that high ponytail. And she was just glowing. Like I could barely make out how she was because the aura around her was just so bright, and just made me smile.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's hard when you hear they want you to be happy because you don't feel happy right now. And that's okay. You know, we're not letting our people down if we're not happy right away. It's a process, just like working towards an Ironman. You know, you're not ready, but you're doing the work.
It's interesting how a connector grief can be too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
I
probably
mean, the
really feel it
podcast.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
cycling studio, I would think.
Yeah, I can watch, and I try to acknowledge it in a very private way. If I can see that, I'll allow them space to go through whatever they need to go through. The great thing is that sweat and tears look the same.
Right.
So,
And at least in the boxing arena, it's like dark in there and the music's pumping. So you could,
yeah, you can lose
That's
yourself.
why
you could, yeah.
Get your anger out for
Yeah.
sure.
We've all
I mean,
cried on the
that's-
bike, or the three of us have
Yeah.
all cried
That's
on
why
the
I
bike
I've cried on a
gravitated
bike.
in the
Yeah.
dark. Just because you don't like
I
to
was
ride.
I was going to actually say that's what got me out of bed. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, still to this day, what gets me out of bed is it's like you have a good instructor, somebody that's going to motivate you, dark room, great music. And then you're like, I'm so glad I got out of bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, then there's a sense of accomplishment when you're done. Even though I was crawling to the car, I was proud of myself that I completed it. I half-assed it, but I did finish, you know?
And sometimes that's all you have to do that day, especially in
Yeah.
those early days or early months. And you have to take care of yourself. So sometimes that was the biggest accomplishment was to get on the bike for that 1 hour and then you're done.
Yeah. You know, I owe a lot to movement, music, and trying to better myself.
You want to give a shout out to where
No.
all you teach?
No, I do personal training, but I also teach an amazing kickboxing class at Knockout. If you go to knockoutaustin.com or Instagram, we just created a new class that I think we signed you up for it tomorrow.
Oh, great.
All right.
I'll
Yeah.
be there.
8:30.
Let me guess, 6:30 a.m.?
No, you get to sleep in.
It's at 8:30.
8:30. Look
It's
at that.
noon.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I teach cycling at Love Cycling Studio. And so you can come and go check the website where I'm teaching then and come and dance out on the bike a little bit.
Thank you so much for
being
coming
here.
in.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys watching me cry. It's awesome.
There's going to be a lot of crying on your grief journey,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Yeah.
And you're already so much farther along than a lot of people at 5 months. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with your background and the way you already know how to push yourself through pain.
Yeah.
It does get a little easier, but the love never leaves.
No, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's okay. There's a lot of things that are uncomfortable out there too.
Yeah, that's life.
Very much so.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
you.